Heavenly Father, thank you so much just for these leaders. They're incredible, God, and you're doing incredible work through them. I just thank you for their heart and their passions and their desires and the way that they inspire us every day here at Venture 19. God, I just pray for these leaders today that you would lead them and guide them through our time together. I pray that people would identify next steps and just be encouraged as a result of today. God, I just lift up Heather to you and just pray that you'd speak through her in a wonderful way today. And we just commit this time to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, I am so glad to have each and every one of you here today. This is one of my favorite topics, and you'll probably see why as we go. But just to start out, when you think of building a monthly donor program, this idea of recurring giving, what is a monthly donor program? Maybe that's what intrigued you when you first decided to join us today. But just very simply, a good definition of that kind of a program is that it allows donors to automatically give a specific amount to an organization each and every month. But that idea of just recurring donors, I'd say this is the tip of the iceberg. Really, definitely what we're trying to talk about today is not just that, but why do we do what we do? How do we do this so that by the end of today, my desire is that you're going to have a much better answer than just reoccurring donors that give you the permission to charge them once a month. So let's jump into that. This is our how-to series. We're kicking it off with this because we want to put some things online that people can come back to over and over again. So this will be back. We'll have the recording online for you to share, for you to review again and again. So here we go. So today we're going to talk just about these few things. First of all, is just what's the big deal about a monthly donor program? Why do we think this is so important? And then we're going to touch on the 3 key principles that really make a monthly donor program successful. And I think these are going to be, for me, one of the highlights, the differentiators between reoccurring and monthly donor program. And then we're going to lay out just 5 simple steps of how you can focus on, build, and even if this is the first time, run your first campaign. Or what do you do if you really want to build on what you already have going to get your next X number of monthly donors into your program. And then we're going to look at some great examples. And that time of great examples, I don't know that we'll get through all of those because there's so much here, but they will be here for you to look at. We will be sharing in the PowerPoint, like Jonathan said, and then we'll take time for that question and answer. So that's a lot. So if we just jump into that, first of all, when we think, what's the big deal? You ready for this? Statistics say 6 out of every 10 donors that you have are going to stop giving to your organization this year. And then another 10, 6 out of 10 next year as well. That's a pretty daunting number. Since the pandemic, this number, this stat, is even trending more and more dire. Donors are actually getting harder and harder to keep, let alone engage. Now that is true for general donors. That's different with monthly reoccurring donor programs. That's the exception. So when people sign up to give via autopay, HCA, or some other automated way of giving, the program of doing that is going to make a huge difference. We actually say it's almost a magical strategy. Well, why? Why is it magical? Well, I'm going to give you this. This is the most complicated PowerPoint that I've got here. A lot going on. But let's just compare one-time donors with monthly donors. Studies show us that when you think of median gifts between a one-time donor and a monthly donor, the one-time donor, it's 50. Then median means it's the most common gift. It's not the average. That's the next one. But the most common gift given is for one-time $50. For monthly donors, it's $20, significantly less. But here's the key. When we think of monthly donors and we annualize that gift, it turns out to be a $240 gift. So that's 5 times what a one-time monthly donor gives. Average gift size, okay, for one-time donors, it's 125. That's pretty good average. That means sometimes you're going to get big gifts and sometimes smaller gifts, but that average goes up. So monthly donors, it's only $30 a month, just a little bit more, but look at the annualized amount. Again, that's 3 times more than the one-time donor. So you can see already that when you think of monthly donors in terms of the overall gift size for the year, it's significantly larger. But the biggest impact, look at that on retention rate. 28%. This is the average retention rate. That means the people that gave last year, how many are going to give again this year? Retention rate of 28%. Look at the difference on monthly donors, 90%. That isn't just a small amount, that's huge. And if you think of one-time donors, that stat is that it's only 23% that will continue. But with monthly donors, you have this enormous retention. Well, what does that mean for you? That means that you have these donors stay longer and continue to give more over time. That means more time for you to be focused on your programs, more time to be dealing with other things in your ministry, and you keep your donors over time. Interestingly enough, most organizations in Europe understood this long before we did in the US. Their donor retention rates are much higher than the US. Well, why? Because they have, across European countries in nonprofits, more than 80% of the donors that they have are on monthly giving programs. See that? Monthly giving programs are huge in the EU because they want to be using more of their time to keep these people engaged and do the work of the ministry. So they've focused on this for decades, and we're just now in the last couple of decades been emphasizing the significance of these monthly donors. So then big numbers here, lifetime value. So a one-time donor, the average lifetime value drops significantly, $70 lifetime. That means you have a ton of one-time donors. But when you look at the lifetime, because what happens is that with monthly donors, they continue to keep giving between 6 to 7 years. And that's not Christian, that's general stats, but for Christian nonprofits, that number is even higher. I've got donors that have been giving me for 25 years. So there's people, when you continue to build that relationship with people over time, that is significant. But wait, there's more. So look at this. When you think of monthly donors, sometimes you think, well, they're signed up, they're giving consistent. I don't want to bug them. I don't want to have them be overcommitted. But look, this is what it says. Within 1 year of signing up, monthly donors tend to make additional one-time gifts 75% more times than one-time donors. So not only are they giving regular small gifts, but then they're also more likely to give that additional gift going forward. That's saying something. And I didn't put the stat on here, but if you're interested in trying to engage millennials, they have statistically said that 52% of millennials would prefer to show their support by giving small regular donations. They understand that, for the same price of a Starbucks coffee, which is a lot, you can give to something that is meaningful. So, we see that our monthly donor programs really is about leverage giving and retention. So that's pretty significant. Now, I want to make sure you caught this. 90% by general standards, but faith-based organizations, their retention rates for monthly donor programs is much higher. It's between 95 and 98% with faith-based organizations, because there's something else than just doing good, but this is about our belief system, our value system, wanting to make a difference. So if you see that retention rate, that not only are they going to give more, longer, stay with you, they're going to keep going for years and years and years. And that's compared to the 28% or the 28% for one-time gifts or 23% for first-time givers. So I would say, when you're dealing with just one-time givers, it's like pouring water into a bucket with lots of holes. You're spending all this energy trying to get a new donor, and then that many of them are not going to stay. But with this high retention, it saves you as a leader time and money. And so we call our monthly donors, our reoccurring donors in our donor programs, sustainers, because really they're helping you sustain your ministry. In essence, they patch up the holes that are in the bucket. And because they're staying with you, they are more invested. They're part of your team and they love seeing the impact that you're making, and they feel more connected and they stay longer. So this is why we think that a monthly donor program is one of the most wise and sustainable investments you can make. And we actually call this the big win. Really, it's a big win for both you as a ministry leader, for your ministry, and for the donor. So it's a win-win. Think about it. What would be a big win for you if you're building or growing your monthly donor program? What's the big win that makes it important for you to be here today? So think about that just on a personal level. Get that in the front of your mind. And as we go, we're going to look at a few different wins that I really want to highlight for you. Kind of touched on a little bit of them, but this first one is so significant. Anyone and everyone can participate and contribute. Even the smallest gifts matter. You know, charity used to be really for millionaires and billionaires nowadays that have this big I can't even say it, philanthropic interest. And they would give big gifts, and everyone's like, oh, wow, that's awesome. But now we are getting wiser, like our European brothers and sisters, and we see the power of many small gifts. So the fact that anyone can participate, even kids, you know, we've seen even people that are participating, that are participants in programs giving back, that have very little because their gifts can matter. And think about it. You know, that second point, it's easier to raise more donors and dollars. Think about how easy is it to raise 4 $25 monthly givers than it is to get one $1,200 gift. You know, think about the ask. You're just asking people to give less than, I mean, right now it's like a lunch. That's what it costs, is for one lunch a month you're getting a significant gift. So it's actually easier for you as a fundraiser to raise those gifts. And with monthly donors lifetime gifts, it was being much more significant with a $25 a month gift than a $1,200 one-time gift. So easier matters. It saves you time. People give more overtime. Said that lots of times already, but it's so significant, it's worth saying again. So monthly donor programs are really a great place for you to start if you're trying to build your base. And if you really want to grow a long time sustainable gift, this is a way that you can grow your people base, because you have smaller gifts and more people. And relational capital, that is absolutely critical in nonprofit work. A couple more big wins. So for nonprofits, we already said, oh, did I say that already once? No, maybe once, twice, 3 times. I don't think I can say it enough. Is that monthly donor programs have much better donor retention than anything out there. It's not even comparable. Second thing there, think about it. More dependable, predictable, budgetable income. How would that help you in your ministry if you had month to month more predictable, dependable, budgetable money to be able to ensure that you would have? For most of us, that means everything, because these one-time gifts come and go. And then lastly there, but not least significant, is that your donors in your monthly donor program, they can become your most highly committed champions. And what is the good of a champion? They tell other people. They're the ones that understand what you do. It's not just a one-time single gift. They're in it with you. So this idea of being together, we can make a big impact because you have a group of monthly donors doing small things that make a difference. So I'm going to highlight this from two sides, because I think these are important for you to understand. There's big wins for your organization. And we've highlighted some of this, and that's the consistent cash flow, which makes it easier for your planning. It is that because donors are there with you and they're engaged and they're listening to you, they actually stay longer. So you invest with them with your communication, and they feel more invested as a result, and then they stay longer. For you as a leader, that's a big benefit to have people staying longer. And think about the time for staff. You have staff, and maybe it's you that trying to re-raise donors every single year. So, or help them with their one-time gifts. Sometimes you get phone calls, you need help, and you need to remind people to keep giving. By having people regularly set up and automated, it saves your time. Lower staff time, that's one of our biggest dollar amounts in our budget is staff time. Lower fundraising costs. You don't have to send out all these receipts and return slips and stamps and all of that. It also is about you spending very focused time communicating. And when you communicate with this group, it keeps them engaged. So it means you don't have to do all this big marketing to get new people. Now you need to just have really good communication to keep them engaged, that feel they're a part of it, which means all of that, more time to focus on programs, people, and ultimately impact of your ministry, of why God has brought you into this place to do the work that you're actually doing. Big wins for the organization. This is important for you to know. It's important for you to share with your board. It's important for you to share with your team, with people, so that we understand, why are we investing in this? Why take the time to build this program? How about for your donors? So I think this is one of the most important things for you to share and make sure your donors see this and understand it. That for them, there's a benefit because it's a manageable giving plan. They don't have to think, oh, how can I, give $200 this month? No, I can give on a regular basis, $20 a month, and give more than 200 throughout the year. So they can plan it. It's manageable for people. They can fit it in. It's for them, they want to know it saves on admin costs. Most donors don't like big money going to admin. So what it does is, because it's going over and over and you have less people involved on staff, more money goes to programming. It also increased program longevity. They like that idea. It says, if we're putting more energy into our programs, then our programs can last longer, can be more impactful. Donors want to hear stuff like that. They want to know they're a part of a meaningful part of a ministry. So for them, when they hear good news from you regularly and you treat them like you're an insider, they feel like they're making a difference with the money God's given them. They're being good stewards of that money. And for them, it saves time and hassle. They don't have to re-enter all their information every time they give a gift. How many of us know how frustrating that is? It's like, you have my information. But if you're a reoccurring donor, I don't have to do that. I just automatically come. So it saves them time and money. And it's easy for them to make some adjustments when giving. Some of them we have ways to people to sign into their own account, or they can make a phone call, but it's easy to make those changes when they want to. So for donors, these are big wins, and you want to make sure you share that either in your website, on your email communication, on receipts, anywhere, so that donors understand why this is the best way for them to make an impact with their giving. All right, now to the three key principles. So I would say, when most people think, all right, I do have a monthly giving option. You can hit reoccurring on here. What's the big deal? Is there anything that's different? So what makes this monthly donor program so effective? These three principles, I think, are the difference makers. It isn't just that because it's done automatically. That does help, and that saves them time and saves you time. That's important, but that's not really the big win. These principles is what are going to make your monthly reoccurring program truly powerful, and in many cases irresistible. Love that. So here we go. First one is, to make it big, you need to think small. I think we have an organization that has a name similar like that with us today. But thinking small. Okay, so when you think of small, I was in an organization and we used to say things like, small is beautiful. Don't despise, sorry, don't despise small beginnings. And one day one leader, it was almost like a mantra in this organization. One leader just said, why are we so proud of being small? And everyone made everyone stop and think, because that being small things is not really a cultural way of thinking. It is biblical, though. I mean, think about it. The 5 loaves and 2 fish, the little stone that David and Goliath used. I mean, if we start thinking biblically, and that the different stories and biblical principles that are out there, not only was it, the small boy's lunch and David with stones, but think about Gideon and how God had him whittle down that army, and about the woman who gave her 2 coins, or the widow who gave just her last little bit she had, or Jesus teaching on mustard seeds. And there's so many examples in the Bible of God using the smallest things. So what's the point of those stories? Why is it that the Bible really helps us go, don't despise the small things? One of my mentors said to me, Heather, it's called kingdom math. And I loved this because he said it's about the multiplicative effort of small gifts, of small things, that when God multiplies those small things, it goes exponential, right? I mean, we've seen it biblically all over the place. So I always like, math. I was a math teacher, but I love kingdom math. So it's that small gifts can have a very significant impact, and that's not something we want to think a little bit. Well, so why does God love the small things? There's a verse in the Bible that I think gives us some good wisdom about that. So let's look at that verse. Oh, that's the why. That's my question, the big why. So this is 1 Corinthians 1:27, and this is, one of our easy to read versions. This is called the easy translation. God chose to use things that people think are silly. He did this so that clever people would be humbled. Yes, God chose to use things that people think are weak. He did it so that powerful people would be surprised and humbled. God chose to use things that people think are useless. People who belong to this world do not like those things. They think that they have no value. God did this so that things that seem important would become unimportant. Because of all this, nobody can be proud of themselves in front of God. So, why does God often use small and weak things? That's a great question. I could hear you thinking that. And I think that the best answer is so that God gets the glory. I was in an organization and that we were doing all this stuff. And I remember one day praying, and God just said, "Don't steal my glory." And man, I'll tell you, that shifted everything for me and how I began to look at things. We don't want to just steal God's. We want to see God use even the smallest of things to do massive. And here's an example. And, we have someone from Harvest Compassion Center on today. And so we're going to highlight them because they, Nicole listened to Jonathan talk about monthly donor programs a long time ago. And she started it. She started the Feed One program. And Harvest Compassion, they're all about providing food and clothing for those that are under resources, those that are in crisis in our community. And today they have over 600 monthly partners. Think about that. I just checked the stats yesterday, and that is over 16,000, just shy of $17,000 per month that program brings in, which is over $200,000 annually. And you can imagine that's going to keep going for years. The last time I checked with her, she was at 400. Think about that. She's just added in the last 2 years 200 new monthly donors that are just giving $28 a month. Or we don't want to limit donors, because a lot of people say, what if I want to give more? So she put on this option that you can feed more than one family. So you can feed one family for 28, or you can feed 40 families or 30 families. And if I remember correctly, now they have one of their biggest donors. I can't remember the details. I think that you can put it in the chat, Jonathan, if you remember it. How many? I think her biggest one was 30 or 100. I can't remember. Someone joined and they did this massive number. You never know, even with a monthly donor program, how this idea even captures a major donor's heart. So speaking of small, $28, we think that's not a lot. Check this out. I was on Charity Water yesterday and I was looking at their monthly donor program, which is called the Spring. This messaging is amazing. I was just ready to go off it. They're highlighted pre-default there. You can't see it very well, but it's $20 a month. I was ready to click off it and this pop-up came up and it said, if you can't read it, every gift makes a difference. And just for $5 a month, you can bring one person clean water every year. Just imagine how many people does Charity Water have in their monthly donor program that are contributing $5, $10. That's their lowest option on their normal giving page, $20 or whatever. How many people? And all that adds up. I was talking to Grace at Hope for Addiction a while ago, and she was telling me that they had just really pretty recently, a 10-year-old sign up to their monthly donor program. They call that Operation Recovering Hope. They're a recovery addiction organization. And they had a campaign, and this little 10-year-old said, I can give $10 a month because I just turned 10 this year. So I'm going to give $10 a month. And she was just amazed at that. Another ministry was telling me that they have kids in their program that now they call them Tiny Heroes, and they have a Tiny Heroes monthly donor program. They're a bigger organization. So, it's amazing what the smallest thing can do. So no doubt you might be asking me, well, why so little? Well, because we want to have more people that can participate. So you can have more champions so that you have people that are saying, I love what they're doing. I want to do it for God to receive all the glory, and I want to be a part. So it's really growing the kingdom of God, being active and involved in the great work that you have. So, here's this question. Is there really a difference between a reoccurring donation option? We all have that. Most of our processors give us that option to have a recurring donor, and having a monthly donor program. Automation is great. Gives you an opportunity to have smaller gifts. So why really call it a program? I would say there's a huge difference between having a recurring option and actually having a monthly donor program. So this is my second point. Number two, not only should we be thinking small, making small gifts accessible and people to be joining, but we want to create community. This is one of the most important things that for those monthly donor programs that don't create community, I think they're missing an opportunity, because the we in our group of people that are using our little gifts can make a big difference. We isn't the organization or the staff. It's we, those sustainers that are your monthly donors that are part of your team. They're in it with you. Without them, you can't do what you're doing. You wouldn't be able to be sustaining. You wouldn't have the predictable money month to month. So create a community simply in simple ways so that people feel like they're part of something. One of my favorite ways to do is just give them a few things, give them a pen, give them a sticker, anything that can show, hey, I'm a part of this community, something branded. Invite them to be, if you do that for your staff, why not do it for your monthly donors? They're really a part of your team. Invite your monthly donors to a special event. If you're doing something on your site, like a baptism, or you're doing a celebration or a graduation, why not invite your whole monthly donor group? Not everyone may come, but the invitation says you're a part of us. Include them in celebrations of impact, include them in other fundraisers. Don't worry about that, because they want to feel like they're a part of this. Desserts, special events, nights of impact, all of those kinds of things, if you're inviting them, makes them feel like they're part of your community. So another way to do that is give your monthly donor program a name. That makes it feel like there's community. Give them public recognition. Use the we word and don't mean we as in the organization and staff, it's including them. Merch, that's what I was talking about. Some groups have even created a Facebook community and they have used one of their monthly donor champions to run that community, not your staff. Great idea. Celebrate what you've done together. So create that sense of community. That makes it very significant because alone, when you're an individual donor, if you're not a Gates family member that has millions of dollars to donate, maybe you feel like what I have isn't enough. But when we do something together, we can achieve more. I don't know if you've ever heard this acronym, but team, together we achieve more. You hear that? Team, each letter, together we achieve more. So this idea of building community and that together we're doing something, it's not just about the individual donor. So your monthly donor program can make all of that happen. You can create a sense of togetherness in your community that we're doing something significant. And here's a good example from the spring. So this is the same organization that had that $5 one. The spring is Charity Water, their monthly donor program. And what they say here is people like you from more than 100 countries around the world giving anything they can, small gifts, to prove how unstoppable we, including the monthly donors, are when we work together. That is great messaging. Can you feel the difference? Can you see the power of togetherness? I belong to a group and we're together making a bigger difference. And that's the sense of community that you really want to create, is that we are doing something powerful, a significant, impactful kingdom building together. So it's that not only that we're doing it together, but it also creates a sense of belonging. Now, I don't know how many of you would recognize this song. You want to go where everyone knows your name and they're always glad you came. Yeah, those of you that are young, you missed a cultural iconic sitcom if you don't know about the Cheers song, but you should look it up if you don't. But the idea is that there was this bar that everyone knew your name and they're always glad when you came. And the whole sitcom was around the fact that there was a sense of belonging to this group that always showed up at this bar. You can do that. And it's not about a bar. It's about being in your monthly donor program. You belong to something that is meaningful and is making an impact. Belonging is one of those core human needs. It feels good to belong to something. And so that's what you want to create as part of your community, is this power, this sense of belonging, that people are a part of it. And number 3, I'd say this is the other special secret sauce to a monthly donor program, and that's making people feel oh so valued, feeling appreciated, feeling special. And you don't have to do a lot of things to do that. That this is about having a very genuine thank you, having newsletters that highlights your monthly donors and says, we've got this amazing group of people that have been with us for a long time and they're making it easy to month after month do this incredible work. You can do that in receipts. I'll show you a little bit about that later. At events, you can highlight your monthly donors. You know how we always say staff stand up, board stand up. Why not monthly donors stand up? It's a great way to just say, hey, you are special. Some people have even on site had a picture board, not necessarily of every monthly donor, but when you invite them to your special events, you go, hey, let's do a picture of our monthly donors. So they have a picture board of monthly donors and people that have made a difference. And then nothing wrong with having different merchandise, giving a little bit of merch, giving something that also does marketing, that when you share it with them. Man, one organization they gave me a little notebook that had their logo on it. And I carry this around. People are like, where'd you get that? And I'm like, yeah, this group. So you're not only getting free promotion, you're also making them feel like they're special. And another thing you can do to make them feel special is to always use this language. You're invited. Invite them to join your community. Make it personal. This isn't just like, would you join us? You're not just asking, but you're inviting. There's a difference between asking and inviting. When you ask for something, it's like, I'm asking for a favor. When you invite someone, Yeah, it's kind of human to be, everyone likes to be invited, nobody likes to be left out. I mean, FOMO is a real thing, right? There's a fear of missing out. So invite people, find ways to just invite people. Here's an example of that one time I got this letter and I thought this was amazing. It was like, "Dear Heather, this is a brand new program. So if you've never launched it, this could be good for you. You could steal this idea. We have launched a new team of advocates or champions, good word, you are who are changing the lives of people with disabilities. And we'd like to invite you to join the A team. The A team is a committed group of individuals opening doors of access for people with disabilities around the world." Wow. I mean, that's a great example of an invitation. It says, "Hey, we've got this new thing. These are advocates, these as a team, and we want to invite you to join them." And then they gave it this name, and if you see, the organization is Accessible Hope International. So they used that A and called it the A team. Love that. Very creative. And then they tell you what it is. So it's not just a mystery, it's a committed group of people opening doors of access for people with disabilities around the world. So the messaging is clear. If I have a concern about people with disabilities, this is definitely a group that I'd want to be a part of. They're the ones that sent me. Not only did they send me a sticker, they sent me a t-shirt and over time. So, I feel like I'm part of this team because I did answer the call and they said, "Welcome to the A team. I got this letter in the mail." Now, it wasn't an ask. "Welcome to the A team." So, they said, "Welcome to the HAHI, which is Accessible Hope International family. You are participate. Thank you for participating in the the Luke 14 feast this year." That was their fundraising event that was online, really good event. "We hope that it was a blessing to you. Because you signed up to give monthly, you're now part of the A team, an elite group of individuals who open doors of access for people with disabilities around the world. And we want to send you this small token of thanks." That's when I got my sticker and I got I think a pen maybe at the same time. "We're so grateful for you and your partnership with us in seeing this vision of accessible hope fulfilled, people with disabilities living as hope-filled and valued members of their communities with full access to the gospel." So they just unpacked what this access is all about. And then they go on to say, "And now that you're part of the A team, we want to develop a deeper connection and we want to blah, blah, blah." And they started telling me how they want to connect with me. So you think about, how do you want to welcome people onto your A team? So when you build your program and you think, how do I make people feel special? That thank you, that welcome letter, that is the simple investment in your planning that's going to pay off a lot of dividends over time. Because don't forget the stats we started with. So whatever you give to staff to promote, to, kind of welcome them to the team, why not do some of that for your monthly donors? Especially when you're starting off, you don't have a ton. If you're like Nicole and you have 600, you may want to do it just now when their new people are coming on, not to all 600 at the same time. But who knows? Who knows what they've done? All right, then I got this ongoing communication later. So talk about making me feel oh so special. Within a month, this was an email that went out to the monthly donor group of the A team. And they just say, "Thanks for your partnership." And there was a group that went to one of the places where they're working internationally in Sierra Leone. And that little video below was a video of that group saying thank you to all those monthly donors. That was cool. But not only did they do that, but they then said, "Because of you, Women of Hope Sierra Leone is thriving and growing." So they connected me as a donor to the impacting more women for Jesus and empowering them to live an abundant life. That was awesome. And so it just reaffirmed that I could do something. And then they invited me to invite others. If you know someone that has a heart for people with disabilities, please encourage them to join the A team. Champion, they're giving me an opportunity. So I'm special. Like, not only are you thanking me, but now you've given me a task to do, and I'm really on the inside. And so I can do that. But then it didn't stop there. When I read this, I was shocked. I'm like, "P.S. we'd like to extend a special welcome to our newest team members. We're so glad that you're on the team. I was reading through this list and look at that at the bottom of the thing. That's my name. I'm like, I got a letter that not isn't just to a big group, but they're identifying individuals and people. And I was on there. Did I feel special? Everyone likes to see their name. That's like the cheer song, when someone knows your name. I'm not just a number. So before we think we can never do this, this is an international organization that did this that only have 5 staff members running their whole thing. And last year they got down to 2 because of some transitions. And they're doing all of this with literally 2 staff people running the whole thing. So we're not talking about massive teams to do this. I talked with Nathan, who signed this after I got this email because I was so impressed. And he said, I said, tell me a little bit about how the A team was developed and what was your intentions. And he said 2 things we really need to do. One, we needed to build create some way to get sustainability for the organization for month-to-month income. And this was one of their major plans. And the 2 is they wanted to build a community where they really did have champions that they could talk to. So that was what really drove them. If that's you, think about that, because when you make people feel special, you're growing your tribe. And that means that your people, your capital, people capital is growing. And when you invite more and more people to be part of that, you're actually including them to enabling them to fulfill God's mandate to go, to love, to serve, even without necessarily leaving their home. We were never meant to do this alone. God he's building his kingdom on his church, on his body. So when you grow your tribe, you are building the kingdom. So invite everyone to be part of this incredible God-inspired work that you're doing. And you know what? It's going to bring them joy, because you guys are doing amazing work. We believe that wholeheartedly. And you've got a big God who's with you, who wants to do big things in this world. So build your monthly donor program and let's see what God does. So those are the 3 secret sauces. Now we're going to look at the 5 steps to really get there. And I'm going to have to go quick on this one because these are important, but the 3, that's what makes it stand out. The first thing you need to do is name it. And I've given you some examples of some great names already. But when you choose a good name, you might think that's not that important. And I've seen people just kind of do the reoccurring and they have a group, but they don't name it. But and probably there's not going to be a donor that's going to join just because of your great name. But what a name does is it creates that sense of community. It inspires people, and it gives people a connection to your vision and your mission. It also adds some credibility. It means that there is a group that has something unique. It's not just permission to charge you every month. There's more to it than that. It says there's more to the iceberg than just the tip and just giving. It's not just transactional money. A name can help them feel important. It helps them feel like they're champions or a collaborator that can make a difference in the world, even by doing something small regularly. And it helps your organization to find an easy way to recognize the impact of monthly donors. If you always have to say monthly donors, but if you talk about that group and you connect that group to your mission or your vision, that's going to help people understand what you're about. And it's going to help them say, I'm interested in this group. So the name isn't, like the magnet that draws, but it is significant. Don't minimize that. Everyone that I've seen run this well has a good name. And don't worry about if you pick a name right now and you change it later, you can. Just be consistent with your organizational branding and make sure the name at least is different than you don't want it to be the same as your organization. You want it to differentiate a little bit, but give it some kind of a tangible or image or some kind of a idea that connects to your mission. That's it. So this is why you want to do it. I love when Seth Godin said this, people like us do things like this. That is part of what the name does, is that when you think of being on the A team, it's like they keep telling me what the A team is. People who care about opening doors of access to people with disabilities. People like us do things like that. You want people to feel like they're able to do that. Now, there's another one that, is that we're going to look at. There's a bunch of them we're going to look at. And I want you to think about, how does that make people feel about the mission? Help people see what they're a part of. So they go, this is me. I want to be a part of doing that. So people like us, we're going to do things like that. That's a great mantra to say over and over to help people see it. Now, here's some examples. Oh, goodness. I made a change yesterday and they went backwards. So, Harvest Compassion Center. What's their name? Feed One. What do? They provide food and other things to give. Feed One family. One Mission. What is theirs called? The Supply Yard. What does One Mission do? They build houses. So their monthly donor group is the Supply Yard. House of Refuge Sunny Slope. Hope and Home and Hope Partners. What do? They house people coming either out of prison, out of addiction, out of homelessness. Raising Arizona's Men. Hi, Renee, you're on here today. That built hers really recently, and she called hers the Change Makers, because they're working with boys that are in the foster care system and building them into men, change makers. Accessible Hope, we've already talked about. Aim Right, another one of our community. They created the Block. Why? Because they're downtown in Phoenix working with kids in a very low under-resourced area, and it's in a city block, so they called it the Block. Compassion Connect, Roots of Compassion, Charity Water, the Spring. So you can see how these names connect to their mission, and it helps people feel like they're fun. I'd say one fun way to idea storm, some people have done this. Do a naming competition with your staff, your board, or even your current donors. Hey, we're going to build a team of people that are going to be our champions or whatever. What would we call them? You can ask people and do a competition. See what comes up. A lot of great creative ideas if you run out of them, because it can take a long time. Second thing, plan it. Simply, it's taking time to sit down and think, what do we need to think about? First of all, you need a leader. You need someone in charge. Designate someone. Maybe that's you. That's fine if you don't have it. If it is someone, maybe you have a board member that's really excited about fundraising. They don't know what to do, but it's their primary responsibility. They want to work. Maybe it is one of your current donors that's willing to be champion. But doesn't mean they have to do it alone. You bring them together with a small team, 2-3 people, so that you can think through your plan. And we say it's a KISS plan. Why? No, not what you've heard before. It's keep it simple and sweet. We want to keep it a simple plan, and you want one person in charge, but to work with a small group of people to think through some of these basic things. Messaging. We want, there's a lot of things we've already talked about and examples we've given on messaging. Keep your branding consistent. We want to highlight what's the benefits to the donor. What's the problem you're trying to solve? What the power of doing it together? All of those things are messaging things you want to think about. Outline your messaging. Then you want to build a specific giving page. And I say that because you want this to stand out. When you want to invite someone to be a part of this, you don't want to just send them to your general standard giving page. You want people to see why being one of your monthly donors and being a change maker, being on the A team, you want them to see that messaging and why does that matter? So you want options for them to understand it. You want maybe even a donor testimony. I'll show you some examples of that. And then you want to think about, who do you want to invite first? And we always say those people that are closest to you. We're going to look at that in just a second here. And then lastly, prepare your thank you letter, because if you want people to feel so special, you want to say thank you right away. You want to do your auto thank you to anyone that joins your monthly donor program. You want to have a follow-up letter that goes out to them. If you build those things right from the beginning, you are 90% there in building your monthly donor program, and that will pay dividends over and over and over again for the time you invest. So here's an example of with the A team. They have an area on their giving page that says, what is the problem? Right now, people with disabilities around the world are abused, neglected, and excluded due to the lack of knowledge. So they're telling you, what's the problem? What's the solution? You can be part of the solution by joining it. You are the solution. you want to make sure that people understand the problem, because if they understand and they relate to that problem, they feel the pain of that problem, then they go, people like us are going to do things like this. We're going to be a solution. Paint a picture for them, help them see it, and then always connect it to the impact of your work. So with PSR, we always say problem, solution, result. What's the problem? The solution? You are. By joining this, together, we can transform the stories of people with disabilities around the world and open holistic doors of access. That's the solution. And then what's the impact? When you open the door, what happens? What happens that's great in the world? What are we trying to change? And then always use your messaging by that idea of creating community. Together we do more, and that we belong, you belong, all of that. You're in the right place. So we're trying to get that kind of a messaging across that's very clear. Here's an example from IJM, International Justice Mission. What's their problem? Trafficking. What's the answer? Your monthly gift. You can make a difference. You can fight for them. No gift is too small. Together, we can make a real difference month after month. What's the result? Rescued children and women. So when you think about that, that's what you're wanting to identify. You can go up and look at IJM, look for their monthly donor program. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. You can't see it on there. But here's a little bit more of what they do on their giving page. They actually say, if you scroll down, how you can help. And what they're doing is giving a testimony about their people that are part of their Freedom Partners. And they say, if you participate, you send rescue. And your monthly gift allows us to every day to show up and to send rescue where it's needed most. It creates long-term impact. It protects survivors. So they're telling people why being a monthly donor is the best way to give each and every month. They're connecting the benefits that we talked about earlier onto their giving page. And that's what you want to do, is highlight donor giving page. And they've made it very specific in terms of impact. Also look at the charity water giving page on the spring. They do a phenomenal job of that as well, in the lower part below the fold on their monthly giving page. Here's what Renee developed with her become a change maker. Very simply, it says, when combined with others, your 4 quarters a day, love it, Renee, your 4 quarters a day can change the life of a young man and the legacy he leaves for future generations. That's a change maker. And then it says below that, by becoming a change maker, you become part of a team of people giving what they can to facilitate change in the lives of young men living in foster care. Together, we can provide love and stability and help them develop an identity that supports personal responsibility and prepares them to be men, the men that God created them to be. That's her giving page. So all that means is that simple messaging affirms, when that person goes on there, I'm making the right decision. People like us that care about this do things like this. We give to places like that. So way to go on that giving page. And here's something that Renee said in terms of her, when she learned. She said, when you start with the people you know. Who do you know? People on your staff, the board, your volunteers, your family members, you. If you're not giving to your monthly donor program, who should? Thinking about who do you know? That's the best place to start. And then you start to look at your donors, all types of donors. Your one-time givers, phenomenal place to look at first, because they've given once. So they're a warm group that says, we care about what you're doing. Now, if you invite them to make a greater impact by becoming a monthly donor, they can give less more often and make a bigger impact. Repeat donors, people have given in the past more than once, tax givers. So when you look at this, you just start your first invitation list. Look at the people you know, start with those people, and then you can grow, but always share it. Always keep it on your tongue. You don't want your monthly donor program to be the best kept secret out there. You want everyone to know. And here's just a few more ideas on this is, go with people that have already given several donations, but they're sporadic. They haven't given regularly. Invite them to be a part of your special champion team. People have only donated once. This is a great way to get that golden second gift, is invite them to make a small gift more regularly to make a great impact. People who donated last year, but not yet this year. That's a way to re-engage them. People who made a tax credit. Now, people who've made a tax credit gift and they noticed that, and you have a way to identify, this is only for Arizona. Sorry for those of you that are not in Arizona. But for those that you are and you've applied for tax credit donation, you just need to connect that your monthly donor gift applies to that. So it's really a win-win-win for them. So make that connection that as they give a little bit amount, that goes to the monthly, your tax credit donation. People who've given by credit card or ACSA in the past, maybe even check givers, you can give to do that, are people who've donated small amounts. Those are all great people that you can look into your CRM, into your data, and go, these are people to invite. Start with the people you know, win them, and you can really gain people that are your long-term monthly donors. So that's plan it. Now promote it. So when you promote it, so if you sit down and you go through that plan, I think you could do that in a half a day at the most. You could do it in a few hours, a few times to get your plan down. Now you start to think of, how do we want to promote this? As I said before, you always, always, always want to share the opportunity. Make your program visible. Don't keep it a secret. Put it on your website homepage. Have it be part of one of the banner options. Have it be, if you click on your give thing, have it be a drop down, number one on the drop down. Make it visible. Keep it in front of people. Highlight impact stories so people see that. You want to make sure people see invitations over and over and over again. You want your invitations to feel personal, but you want to keep inviting people to be a part of it. Sometimes people don't respond to the first invitation, but continue to work at that and look at these people to convert. Try to convert if you promote to your one-time givers, give them an opportunity to upgrade their impact by giving a smaller amount over time, your tax credit givers, which we've said already. Talk about it and personally give out cards. I can't overstate giving out. Talking to people personally, invite people personally, and then tell your monthly donor team, if you already have one, when your next campaign is, and invite them to be a part of that. For some of you that have done that, I've got some great examples, didn't put it in this PowerPoint, of people that have invited their team members to invite others. So if you want that, that's kind of the next level to reach out. But here's one thing on this. This is a real winner, is that we have, not only does IJM have a banner on their homepage, which you see at the very top, it says double your impact up to a year, join the Freedom Partners community today, and your monthly support will be matched. They have this pop-up window that when you come on there, it's saying, hey, this is what's new. This is what we're excited about. And they have this messaging and they have a match. That's a game changer. If you're doing this for the first time, go to some of your long-term givers and create a match, even if it's just $5,000, to get your invested people to give incentive and create a match to double your impact. When I was talking to Nicole yesterday, she says, our next campaign for our monthly givers, we're going to do a big match. I've already reached out to some people I know are already going to give and asking them to do that. So they have a match, and they've listed on their giving options lots of different ways to be able to give. And so that you check out their giving things, they have, even on that drop down, single gift, monthly gift, Freedom Partner. That's one of their options. It's right there. Great messaging, because ultimately they say this on their page. It's people like you, they know what that same saying, people like us do things like this. It's people like you that drive work from rescue to restoration. That's the end goal outcome, is restoration. So you've got incredible messaging. Timing does matter, we say, look at these things. There's great timing, just like Facebook posts and airline tickets. If you don't do it on the right days, you don't get the right response. But think about it, during giving days, during Arizona Gives or Giving Tuesdays, a great time to do a promo for your monthly donors. End of year, when people are already going to be giving, you can show them that. After paydays, think about the timing per month. So when people are feeling generous, they've got money to burn, or even just right after first time gift, maybe 1 month later, maybe 3 months later. That's 3 different asks you could go. And so if you have all 3 of those, these are really good times to just, research tells us that don't be afraid to give, to ask people to give sooner. If they just gave a gift, send in your auto thing. Would you like to join our special team? Ask them another 3 months later. People are likely to give a second or third gift to become a reoccurring donor a few months after making their first one-time gift, because that way they know they're on your radar, that you have their attention. And if you keep communicating, they're going to be going. So think about who can you talk to and when do you want to do that this year. So here's just a few tips on messaging. We have something for everyone. No gift is too small. No gift is too big. You can also do that. That's, the bigger gifts. Jenny, do you know what your biggest number of gift is? Your biggest, how many families? If you do, put it in. I was thinking. Go ahead.
Like the highest speed one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is 100 a month.
Yep. 100 families that somebody is giving per month. They just got that in the last year. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So no gift is
incredible.
too big. No gift is too small. Love it. So thinking of these messaging that's in there, help people see the value of that, continue to share that. I love this idea. People have a lot of monthly subscriptions. Why not have a subscription that actually helps people, not just help us? That's cool. Target one-time monthly donors and then use your confirmation emails to promote it. Help people see that the next best way to give the next time is by being a monthly donor and giving a small amount regularly. So those are really good promotion tips. And here's a good tip from Julie, who was the CEO for so many years at House of Refuge Sunny Slope, that really built their monthly donor program. She said, everything I learned about monthly donors was from Jonathan and Nicole. So shout out to Jonathan and Nicole. But she said one of the mistakes she made is they relied too much on the website and emails to promote it instead of personally asking others to join it. Again, it's that invitation, personally asking. So when they did this, they started personally asking people, they started exceeding their campaign goals. So that made a huge difference for them. All right, launch it. I know I have 5 minutes, so I'm going to just hit this. I love this statement from Guy. Guy is known as the American marketing evangelist for Apple. No, he's not a Christian. He's not a Christian evangelist, but he's an author of so many books. And what he really was recognized for is just telling people, don't wait till it's perfect. Just get it out there. Man up and just ship it, is what he said. You don't have to have a perfect program. You can build it as you go and improve it, but it's better to get something simple and intentional out there with those 5 points, and then actually just promote it and get it launched. Ask for feedback once you do it. You can have founding monthly donor programs. They can give you feedback. Board members can give you feedback on it. But what do you do to launch it? I want to encourage you, if you're here, if you haven't launched yours, to make yourself a goal. See if you can launch it in the next 60 days. Just get it done, because it'll pay off big time. So when you plan that first campaign, you need to have a set of target donors and dollars. That means, you could say, for my first goal, I want 12 monthly donors for my first campaign. For Feed One, it may be that they want to have 50 donors in the next year, and then they're going to work on it. But another a great thing to use is a campaign video. And there's a great one that I'll show you a click on next that the spring did, but just talks about your work and maybe a testimony of a donor, or shows them an impact moment, something simple. It doesn't have to be super professional, but it speaks directly to your donors. You can use it not only in the kickoff, but in a lot of different ways. Get a match. I say with your first campaign, can't overstate that enough. get a match. It creates so much incentive for people, and you match it for the first year. That's a big impact. And then highlight the impact of monthly giving in your campaign and give updates on the progress. Tell people, how are we doing? Have we got 10? Have we got 10? We only have 2 more to go. Celebrate that so that people know what your goals are, what your deadlines are. Here is that video that was done by Scott Harrison, the founder of Charity Water. It's 20 minutes, but I'm telling you, it is worth the 20 minutes. Who listens to a 20-minute video anymore? But theirs is so good and so compelling. I would say go listen to it. You don't have to do what he did, but it will inspire you to say, it's powerful to tell the story, and there's nothing like a video to do that. And then here's how Julie used this in her one of their kickoff campaigns for getting donors. Their goal was to do 12 to get 25 new monthly donor partners, and they hit their goal. They exceeded. So they shared that with everybody. And there was excitement on their team. Everyone in the House of Refuge was excited. The board was excited. And then she shared it with the donors so they could be excited. And she also said, and if you still want to join, you can just still join. So it creates this sense of excitement, belonging, all of that. Give people updates. All right. Last thing, 3 simple things here. Don't stop communicating. Erica Wadsdorf is renowned for her monthly donor information. In fact, she's on a 2-day monthly donor training going on right now for 2 days, half days. And she's saying, these people, you need to share and talk to them and be intentional. You don't have to do it every day. It takes a lot less work to share with these people regularly than to create a new donor, to find a new donor. So just don't stop communicating, thinking about how do you want to communicate with them. Send impact update. I'd say at least 1 a quarter, minimally twice a year. Thank yous at least twice a year. I'd say phone calls at least on that first gift, and maybe once a year. Pick up the phone, say thank you, get a group, get your board, pick up phone calls, say thank you, we really appreciate it. Give yourself just a little script to do it and connect to them. Celebrate anniversaries. That's a great way with monthly donors to help them feel like they're seen and heard. And use that communication to inform, educate, and invite. Help them understand your programs. Show them who your staff and your board are. Tell them what's new. What are you excited about? Invite them to special events. All these things, including prayer requests, are ways to engage and invite and keep your people. It's easier to keep them, short term. And then lastly here is evaluate. Evaluate what you've done. What's working? What needs to be changed? Keep it simple. You might want to look for some data on managing this. How many donors did you have this year, monthly donors? How many next year? What's their longevity, meaning retention rate? What's the average gift size? A few of those things helps you see what you're doing, but there's nothing like sending out a survey once every 3 years to get feedback from your monthly donors, because they will tell you what they, and here's just 5 different questions. They're not magic. We'll send you the PowerPoint. You'll have this, but find out, give them a voice. How is it? And so I'm not going to go through all these. We talk about these, but I will say it's worth hunting and looking at some of these because they've done a great job showing impact, what we're accomplishing together, invitations, donation forms that says it's connected to what we do. Our monthly donors is, what are we doing? What are we accomplishing together? And I'll just tell you a side secret. I'm not a big fan of, for $25, you can do this, because that takes away the feeling of we are doing it. And so if I'm a donor that says, I really care about this one thing, but oh, darn, that's $100 a month, I can't do that. Now it's donor disappointment. But if we can do all of it together, big win. So especially with monthly donors, I think that's the way to just highlight what we do. And this is the Home and Hope, that clean, simple, but if you look in the middle, that is a donor testimony of why they love being a donor on there. And the Freedom Partners, that's IJM, connected to what they're trying to do. They tell you what you're accomplishing in there. They've got a great, simple donation page. The spring, one of the things they have a cool donor processing system, because when you click on $40 a month, it tells you that helps 12 people get water. If you click on 10, it says 3 people. So they've got, good options, but of course they said you can even do $5 a month. Love it. Love it. No gift is too small. All right. As we finish, if you didn't get these points today, I might cry. And you don't want to see me cry. It can be messy. It can be snot running out of my nose. You need to create community when you do a monthly donor program. Be creative. How can you create community with these special people who are committing to give over time? Invite people, use invitations, make invitations personal and special, share the benefits and the impact that people are making, and make it visible, clear, and simple. That is the power of monthly donor programs. So that's it for us today. What helped you? We're going to take whatever time after you, those of you got to go. But if you want to stay on and ask some questions, we are more than willing to do that. I'm going to stop sharing. And I went through a lot, spoke fast, but you can see I'm passionate about this. So back to you, Jonathan, let you capture other questions or comments or anything in the chat box.
Yeah, no, I think we got most everything answered in the chat box. And there were a couple folks that were wondering a couple other things. And so I just told them to hang on the line after we pray here. And we really mean that. So we're happy to stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes. So feel free to stay on with us and you can just fire away on some more questions. Again, we will send out the PowerPoint, but wow, so much great information today. Listen, don't be overwhelmed by it. Feel free to reach out to us. We can talk more about it. We can book coaching sessions with you to help you take those next steps. So we're not just presenting all this and saying good luck with all of it. We're here to help. So wonderful, wonderful to have you join us today. Let me pray for us and end our time together, and then feel free to stay on the line with us. Lord, thank you so much that that we can gather together and just learn together. Principles that are important for our organizations and grounded, Lord, in our faith in you and in the work that you've called us to do. God, I just pray that we would walk away today with a few next steps. I pray that as these leaders leave this call, you would just continue to urge them and nudge them a little bit in the direction that you want them to go with this material. God, thank you for these leaders. Thank you for the work that you're doing through them. And thank you for this time together. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.